Hi, so I'm Alison Davis and I'm the author of Teaching Reading Comprehension. Teaching Reading Comprehension was my first text, and it was written as an umbrella text really, so that as a teacher you can pick it up and it's got a chapter on each of the main components of reading comprehension. The first chapter is around metacognition and the importance of metacognition and students knowing about their own learning, thinking about their learning, think about what strategies they use and apply to help them become better readers. Also have quite a big section in the first chapter around formative assessment and the purposes of formative assessment, and the whole idea that formative assessment is a very central part to thinking about learning and knowing about learning. So it's a highly metacognitive approach to teaching as well. So that's the first chapter, and that's really the theory chapter. Then I've gone in and I've thought about, well, what is it that we know that good readers know and use and control in terms of their ability to become better at reading and self-monitor their own reading. And one of the things that good readers use obviously are skills and strategies to be able to work out words that they don't know, so decoding strategies. So the second chapter in here is around decoding, and I give some suggestions for teaching decoding, some activities to use with your students. I also give some suggestions for assessing or finding out a little bit more about the decoding needs of students. So interviews, questions to ask them, things to observe for when they're reading, so that you can find a little bit more detail about what aspects of decoding they're finding difficult. At the end of that chapter I've got a section called What to Do When Students Struggle, and that breaks down a little bit more information about decoding. And in terms of decoding, really it's mostly for students who are in the year 3 to 8 age group. The chapter following that, so that's chapter 3, that's the chapter on vocabulary, and of course we all know the importance of vocabulary, because the vocabulary are the words, and if the children don't know the words, they don't know the meanings of the words, then they're not going to be able to make sense of sentences, and if they can't make sense of sentences, they can't make sense of greater text. So again, in the vocabulary chapter I talk about some approaches to finding out about what children do when they come to words they don't know the meaning of, finding out about what strategies they already know, asking them to explain and demonstrate what they do when they come to words they're not sure of. And the rest of the chapter has got ideas and suggestions, learning intentions, success criteria for some of the activities that you can use to deliberately set out to build vocabulary both during lessons and as part of the after activities. So when the students aren't reading with you but they're doing other activities in the classroom for reading, what is the quality of the vocab activities that you're giving them, and there's lots of suggestions for activities you can use inside that chapter. The fourth chapter is on fluency. So again, thinking about what we know good readers do and control and use, good readers are fluent, and so this chapter provides insights into how teachers can observe students' fluency, how they can talk to them about fluency characteristics, and how they can design programs to make sure that fluency isn't the forgotten component of reading comprehension. It actually, fluency, both in the head fluency and reading aloud fluency, is the deliberate part of instruction. When you get to chapter 5, we start to look at some of the cognitive and metacognitive strategies that students use when they are reading continuous texts or non-continuous texts. So I'm talking about reading at paragraph level, reading whole texts, and in chapter 5 we go through a whole range of different strategies, from predicting to prior knowledge to analysing and evaluating text. So there's the whole raft of different strategies are described. Some activities are given for each of them, learning activities and success criteria are also provided. And then as the book progresses into the final 2 chapters, there are examples of different reading approaches. So I talk about shared reading and guided reading and reciprocal reading. I talk about paired reading. There's some information on readers' theatre in here as well. And then the last chapter talks about the whole notion of organisation and management. So how do you run classroom programs? How do you put together the different components? And I've given 3 or 4 models in there, and some scenarios of some teachers and what decisions they make and how they choose to develop activities, which could be as straightforward as overviewing a text to activities that require students to complete or engage with tasks that require understanding of a number of different strategies at vocab and comprehension level.